Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet at Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario. Use the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Or head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. It's 18 plus. Please play responsibly. So first off, you need to know this. The Penguins go into the last game, this is game 80, okay?
81.
No, this is game 80.
It's 83.
Okay, you're right. It is 81.
Game 81.
It is game 81.
Yeah.
Because there's two left.
Yes.
You're right.
If
You're right.
You got to play
You're right.
82.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only know that because we talked about
They
it
go
yesterday.
they go into game 81. They're
Yes.
playing the Blackhawks, and their destiny is in their hands. You have the Florida Panthers, who are 4 points ahead of them. You have the Islanders, who are 1 point ahead of them. And if the Pittsburgh Penguins can just beat Peter Mrazek and the Chicago Blackhawks,
And it was Mrazek.
they are,
Oh.
no matter what, in control of their own destiny. Because even if the Islanders, who play the Canadiens tonight, won a game, then the Pittsburgh Penguins would still have the game in hand to win and get in.
You just need 4 points.
You need
two wins in a row, and you're in the playoffs.
Right. And if the Canadiens somehow pull a rabbit out of a hat and beat the Islanders, you're set. It's not going to happen, but...
I mean, the Isles had a non-playoff team in Washington, and they got friggin' wiped.
Yeah, and that's the reason that Pittsburgh was in this position.
Oh,
Yeah. The best part about this
Nobody wants it.
is you get to see a non-Leafs team go down in flames
Yep.
twice. Because not only did the Pittsburgh Penguins lose 5-2,
Off.
but
Wow.
the Chicago Blackhawks lessened their chances of getting Connor Bedard
Yes.
by 6.5%.
That's
they
bananas.
jumped 2 spots in the standings by winning that game. And the score was really 3-1 because
Yeah, it was.
the second goal was with the goalie pulled after the Blackhawks already scored an empty netter, and then there was another empty netter tacked on. So it was really 3-1. But
Whatever.
if there's anyone to blame for this entire scenario, it's Peter Mrazek.
Was he good?
He was
saves.
Unreal.
38 saves.
He's one of the most confusing goalies I've ever watched.
He can be spectacular.
Can be absolutely
he made some
spectacular.
real good saves. And there's a lot of people to blame overall in this whole situation. Ron Hextall's one of the big people to blame here. Tristan Jarry allowed a bad goal to Athanasiou. That was the believe the second goal of the game, the one that put them up 3-1. He wasn't great.
No,
he hasn't been great for a while.
I don't have numbers to back this up, but no good goalie with the quality of numbers that Tristan Jarry has allows more bad goals. He's confusing too. He's incredibly confusing. That whole team is confusing.
I know you haven't seen it. So it was a goal where he overplayed the goal, and that he ended up
pulled a Mrazek.
he pulled a Tristan Jarry in this situation, and he ended up at the side of the net, and Athanasiou was behind the goal line and batted the puck twice and put it in the net.
So here's the other thing. The Penguins are on a 16-year playoff streak. Okay?
Okay.
Crosby and Malkin have played in every single game this year.
All 82.
Wow.
That has not happened. I don't think they've ever done that.
Both of them same season?
Yeah, no.
Sidney
Don't
Crosby's
think it's
got
ever happened.
91 points.
So if I told you before the season started that you're going to get every game out of Crosby, every game out of Malkin,
You make the playoffs in a walk.
which is what you think, right?
should.
So it's our old friend Mark Madden. You remember him?
Yep.
He wrote an article, and I thought it was actually kind of fascinating because there was the fire Hextall chants in the stadium last night, and he said Hextall's done an awful job and he should be terminated and will be. But Hextall wasn't on the ice. He assembled a flawed team, but not so flawed that there's any good excuse for losing to the Blackhawks, a team that needed a better chance at drafting Connor Bedard. The Blackhawks' chances of winning the Bedard lottery went down. Oh, excuse me. I was wrong in the percentage. The Blackhawks' chance of winning the Bedard lottery went down from 25.5% to 13.5%.
Blame Buddy Robinson.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. and like, that's wild. Here's the thing. The Penguins have got to take a good hard look at whoever's in charge, whoever's the coach, whoever's the GM, they got to take a good hard look at what this team is. Because, and Mark points it out in this article, Penguins fans have been talking about this all year. This is a slow team that thinks it's fast, and it plays a fast style, and they're not fast anymore. They're not a fast team anymore. They're old.
Yeah, but their best players are old. Like the players who are performing the best
are older.
Are old. So
you got to amend your style to that.
I don't think that's necessarily the problem. I think they used to build the team around Sidney Crosby, and now it's Sidney Crosby and his band of merry men. Like, do you see the difference? It's just a collection of dudes like around him. They don't have an identity.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. They don't play a certain way.
They play slow and they don't hit. They're not a grind to play against.
It's a flaw.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing about last night was that Sidney Crosby was unreal.
Yeah, he was great.
I think
he is unreal.
He had 8 shots. He was all over the net. Peter Mrazek stopped him. I think there's like 4 really good chances that Peter Mrazek just really made great saves. And Malkin was great as well. But there's nobody else on the team besides those two. And it's been like that for a while. And Pens fans have been screaming that this team has sucked. And Rob Rossi in The Athletic wrote about the game, obviously, and then he put some numbers in there that I thought were fascinating. One was that versus playoff teams this season, the Penguins are 16, 23, and 5.
Oh,
that's a 420 save percentage.
And they still can make the playoffs. So if they do make the playoffs, Jesse, how will that week go?
It's going to be about 4 games. Yeah. And then, so... That's the number versus playoff teams. Since December 20th, the Penguins are 21, 22, and 6. That's a 490 points percent. They've been bad for a long time. Pens fans who've watched this team closely have noticed that this has just been trending downwards since December, and now it's all finally come to a head where you have a must-win game versus a bottom 2 team in the National Hockey League, and you can't close it out.
If you're going to fail, you fail quickly, right? There are teams that don't know how to fail quickly in this league. I have to give a couple teams that do. The Washington Capitals, we're going to punt this year. We had injuries, blah, blah, blah. The St. Louis Blues, really smart. Watch for the St. Louis Blues to make a quick turnaround. They've got great young players, and I think they're going to – they were in on a few players at the deadline that, like Timo Meier among them. They want to do a quick turnaround, and you can do that if you catch it in time, if you catch the falling knife in time. Mm-hmm. The Penguins are on the verge of – not being able to catch it in time. They still have Malkin. They still have Letang. They still have Crosby. I get that. But it's not Malkin, Letang, and Crosby 10 years ago. It's now. Yeah. And they got to figure out how to get this team some speed and some identity. And it can't be from, pushing guys in the corner just a little bit. It's got to be from top to bottom. This is what we are, and everybody subscribes to this.
I'm going to say something I never thought I would say. Maybe they should have just done the JT Miller thing.
The more I think about it, the more I think they need a D'Artagnan, right? They need a Phil Kessel. They need that third guy.
A guy.
Third guy who's going to rack up a stack of points.
So I'm just looking at it. Let's ignore their offseason, which Petrie for Matheson is not looking great. But let's ignore that. Let's go to right around the trade deadline. They trade Teddy Bluger to free up some cap space. That doesn't make you better. It just gives you the ability to acquire. Okay, well, if we're going to acquire, let's acquire. Let's get some good players. They get Mikael Granlund at $5 million for a second-round pick. They have the most complicated and somehow meaningless 3-way trade in NHL history with the Habs and Sharks, where they get Nick Bonino, and it's not 2017.
I think they were setting up to move Jason Zucker with that trade.
It kind of looks incomplete, doesn't it? And their big ad on the back end is Dmitry Kulikov. None of that moves the needle.
JT Miller was the focus, and I think they needed to move Zucker, and they couldn't find somebody to do it for their price. If they have JT Miller, they're in the playoffs. I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's never, my criticism of JT Miller has never been that he's a bad player. He's not a bad hockey player. There were times where he was lazy.
Or underperforming his potential.
Yeah. And I tell you what, Rick Tocchet has turned him into one of the most dangerous shorthanded players in the NHL. And
Him and Pettersson are deadly short-handed.
They are. They're
Deadly.
crazy.
It's unreal.
Pedersen, who had 100 points, by the way, yesterday.
Exactly. So
Congrats to
will
him.
that carry into next season? I don't know. We're not talking about the Canucks right now. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't think it's a hard sell to get guys to play in Pittsburgh. And who'd they get?
Well, when you don't get the deal done at the deadline, and this is a year that you need to compete, you failed.